Hey, this is Jeremy Torisk, and welcome to the Slight Edge Advantage. What is it that you're doing that sets you apart from your competition, from the people you're chasing, from the life that you want to live? Well, it's the little things that we do in our lifetimes, in our daily basis going forward that really separate your past from your future. What's holding you back are these little things like getting up just a little bit earlier, reading just a little bit more about the things that you're doing, knowing a little bit more about your competition, and making a little bit more of an effort to create relations. And today's a perfect example of that. This podcast, for example, is all about building relationships. And today I've got a guest. I think you're going to like him a lot. Without further ado, here's his little intro video. And so I'll tell you all you need to know about Robb. My guest today started on Wall Street as a cold caller, then descended from stockbroker to financial advisor, later founding and operating a broker-dealer of his own, spanning 5 states with 150 advisors. Shifting trajectories, he now helms Myome, a private equity real estate firm. Beyond competitive returns, Myome's rent-to-own division empowers first-time homebuyers with homeownership opportunities. And they also do a really good job at separating their returns from most other investments. Please give a warm, slight edge advantage to Robb Costomiris. Well, my friend Robb, welcome to the show.
So thank you. And one thing I wanted to touch on was your slight edge advantage, and something that I've always had for myself. Not that I always wanted a slight edge, but I always thought I needed it because I started out on Wall Street 20 years ago. I didn't have the education that most people had. I didn't have, parents behind me. Again, I'm not crying about my past or anything. It's, I always had to be the first one in and last one out. And I was always the hardest worker in the room. And that's what gave me my slight edge, was that I was always a step above everybody else, or I tried to be a step above everybody else.
Yeah, I tell you, that's what really got me through some of my darkest times, is that no matter what I knew, I look in the mirror and said, no one who I'm around is outworking me. Right. So I may not be the best, I might not be the fastest, the smartest, but no one outworks the kid. And if you just stay with that long enough, you're always going to be like 3 feet from goal. Just stick with it, keep working, and it's going to click eventually.
Yeah. I was never the most talented either. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, hard work outbeats talent all the time, because talent, when you have too much talent, you get lazy. It breeds laziness.
Yeah.
Very few people like a Steph Curry or LeBron, where you got that mix of talent and crazy work ethic.
One of the best examples of that recently is Antonio Brown. Not picking on the guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. There's the guys, who else? The other guy who got in a fight with his basketball coach for taking plays off of practice, not practicing,
I just read this article the other day. What's his name? Spreewell. Was Spreewell?
I think so. One of those.
Yeah. TJ Carlesimo is who we got into a fight with.
Yeah, didn't he try to choke him?
Yeah. He got aggressive with him.
Got a little aggressive, yeah. There was another one too in Philly, I think, who got fined for not showing up to practice, or not putting it out there for practice. But that's where the gains are made, not in the games, but in the practice.
So my daughter started off on varsity softball this past year, and one of the coach actually said it right. He had a parent meeting with everybody else, and he said, practice is where you make progress. Games are where you just play out that progress. I sat in that meeting, I go, wow, that was really good.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, and I had a drumline teacher that used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You keep doing the same things wrong, you're never going to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's all these little philosophies that people have, and it's the nuggets that we pick up and what sticks with us right during our lifetimes. At the end of the day, it's pretty cool. It makes you go, where would I be without that little nugget? When I need
yeah.
That's fun.
Somebody had said to me early on in my career, it was like, you're not a sales guy. You're not going to make it in sales. And that was ingrained in my head the entire time. And I don't know if it was a chip on my shoulder or what it was, but I was just like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to do this. I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it.
So what was it about becoming a better salesperson that at the time for what you were doing that was just so important? It's just, there was no other option. You were committed.
So, I wasn't 100% committed when I first came to Wall Street. I actually I grew up in a household where my father, anytime he went to go buy a car back in the 80s and early 90s, he'd be like, "Oh, this guy's not going to sell me. You can't sell me." And I was just like, "Why are you so nasty with this guy? He's just doing his job." I was just a kid. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
sure.
had no clue. And most of the guys he dealt with were just regular sales guys. They weren't those, cheesy car salesmen. So that was the mentality I had for sales guys. So I come to Wall Street, I walk in, trading floor, 150 people on the floor. It was craziness. And so I was given a stack of leads and I had to get leads. And they were just like, here's your script, here's this, do this. Okay,
Wow.
fine. So, first couple of weeks I was just like, this isn't for me. This isn't for me.
Just dialing for
And then
dollars.
yep. And then I took my test and I passed my test. And then
Was a
I
serious
was yep, Series 7 and 63. And it wasn't until I started actually speaking to people, like actually having conversations with people, that it stuck with me that I could do this. I could actually have a conversation with people, and I started opening accounts. But the one place that really got me was when I had partnered up with my partner for 15 years, and we started doing seminars and educating people. And I was telling them about the products we were selling. I was telling them why we used them, what we used them for, and how they benefited people, if they utilized them at all. And that's where my sales really started picking up, was when I educated people, when I stopped selling and kind of teaching them, so to speak. And
Yeah,
it
that's
helped out
right.
a
So,
lot.
but going back one step, what was it, do you think, that got you through that time where you were dialing from dollars? It's not to quit before you started having some real conversations that felt like, wow, this is why I'm doing this. So you kind
Yeah,
of developed.
sorry, I kind of jumped real far, but it was the connecting with people, speaking with people. When that person told me I'm never making in sales or whatever they said, I don't even know if it
Oh,
was that
okay.
exactly. I might be exaggerating it, more in my head because I'm so
Romanticizing it.
angry. Yeah, 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 yeah. But it was it was the connection with people, that I could connect with this guy who runs a $10 million company. I
Right.
can connect with the guy who's worth $100 million and has been in the market for 40 years, and I
So
still have water behind my ears.
did imposter syndrome creep in at that time when you're dealing with some of those type of people?
No, because I never pretended I was something I wasn't. I
Ah,
always told them I was a young guy. I never,
oh,
you know
that's
what? I have that more. I have that more now than I did back then.
wow.
It's pretty funny, right? Like,
It is. Well, it's the psychology of humans. We all have it, whether we want to admit it or not. Um,
yeah,
and it's healthy. It helps you, keeps you humble, and it keeps you, in the game, keeps you
yeah,
on your
right.
feet.
Yeah, I live in a pretty well-to-do neighborhood, and I tell my wife all the time, it's like, what are we doing here?
We're about to find
Like,
out we don't belong here.
yeah, it's so crazy. Like, some of the people we're friends, I'm just like, how are we friends with these people? This is crazy. Like, why do they want to be friends with me? This is nuts.
Yeah, and they're saying the same thing. That's the funny
Probably.
part. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
They really are. And I look at it as, I bring as much to any table as anyone could, but it's all out of the authentic me. You know, the
Well,
experience that we've been through.
I, I think that is it. Is I'm always me. I'm always telling you, what's on my mind. I'm never, I'm not going to sit there and insult you, but I'll always be completely honest with you. Like, dude,
Yeah,
what are you wearing? What are you wearing those shorts for? Like, or whatever. And I'm not putting them down. I'm just being honest with them.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of value in that, because some people, you say something to and you go, they say, no one's really ever said that to me before. And you got to say it the right way, of course, and use diplomacy and everything. But a lot of people are afraid to say things to
yeah,
people, and if it's something that they should know, if you're really care about them, then having those discussions should be natural. There's
yeah,
trust. It's coming from the
yeah.
right place.
And you wouldn't believe how many times when I'm hanging out with somebody, whether it's an acquaintance, somebody I met at networking, or like a good friend, I get that a lot. People are like, nobody's ever asked me that question.
That's the
Nobody's
best.
ever said that to me. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, I hope I didn't offend you. And they're like, no, 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 because I don't think it's coming from a bad spot. It's just
that's
nobody's
right.
ever said that to me.
So how
So,
did you transition then from stockbroker, and you're having some success and talking to people, to saying, is it an entrepreneurial spirit that you had in you, that you just wanted to be on your own, or how'd you do that?
I was managing a book of business. We started a broker dealer in 2011, and it was myself, my business partner, who we had our book of business and clients with, and then two other gentlemen who were senior partners. Um, I started off as CEO, then I was chief compliance officer, then I was COO. I think I held every position in that
Yeah.
company, even IT director and janitor. Um, um, but I had given up my book of business. I was managing probably about 150 reps through 5 different states. It was very tedious. I was getting, I don't want to say bored. It wasn't boredom. It was just, I guess it was stale. I wasn't speaking
Huh.
to clients as much as I wanted to. And so I kind of ventured out to a financial planning firm where I was on track to be partner, and it wasn't exactly what they said it was going to be. But it was also through COVID, so I don't know, but it didn't work out there.
Right.
And then I had reached out to a buddy of mine. I'd known him for 10 years at the time. And I actually sent a text to probably 20 different people. And I said, hey, listen, in December, I'm looking for a new role, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
If you have any contact, I'd be more than happy to, reach out to them, or, if you just give me their contact information, I'll, reach out. He called me up before my phone hit the desk. When you send a text and somebody calls you and you're
Yeah.
like, why are you calling me? I just text you, you know? So I picked up and he's like, I want you. I'm like, wait, what? He's
Wow.
like, I want you. I'm like, no, Mark, you don't understand. I'm not looking for a handout. He's like, it's not a handout. He's like, I want you. He goes, just meet me for lunch and, let me tell you what I'm working on,
Nice.
and then tell me,
Yeah.
it's not worth my time. And so then after multiple conversations, probably about 4 or 5 months later, I came on board about 2 years
And that's
ago. And
did I pronounce it right in the intro? Is it myome?
my
Myome?
my own, yep, stands
Yeah,
for
myome.
mirror image of your mind. So
Mirror image of your mind. So, but not really reflective of what you do, because what
no,
you
not
really
at all.
do is you like that reflective joke. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
you help people in getting put into home ownership position by doing a really good job at buying distressed properties, fixing them up, and then doing a rent to own model
yep. You want to come work for us and
with
sell it for us?
integrity.
That was a good job with just what, a 30-second conversation with you.
Well, basically, all these flip and buy and flip and everything, they're all over television, and everyone thinks that, man, you just, you make an offer and then you buy it, and then of course you just buy all the materials and the guys show up and fix it, and then you make it look a lot easier.
Yeah, one of the differences with us is what you said, is like we buy a distressed properties, and we actually have a proprietary technology. It's just a computer outside on a desk, and it's just, if you look at it, it looks like it's like code, but if you read each one, it has an address, it has what sparked it, what the outcome was, yes or no. It literally says yes or no on it. And so then if it's no, it just gets dumped out. If it's yes, it continues on to a multitude of different things. And we tend to find single family residences through 38 different states. We primarily only deal in about 5 different states, but we're looking in 38 different states, and we find properties that come up as a 60% discount.
Wow.
We use financing for a majority of it, but we also use investor money, and that's where we pay a nice competitive return, 17.5%. But one thing that does set us apart, is what you said, is we get individuals and families that don't have bank-ready credit score. I'm going to use air quotes for that
Yeah.
because it's,
Financial.
what's that? Yeah. And we actually refer them out to a credit specialist. He helps them fix up their credit. And once their credit's to a level where it's acceptable by a bank, we refer them out to a FHA lender, and they get them in there for their first time home. And we apply a portion of the rent that we utilize to keep them in the house towards their down payment. And that's what kind of separates us, is
So
we
through
kind
all
of get.
that process of fixing their credit and everything, they're already in the house.
Yeah. We know, we have a good idea before they get into the house,
Yeah.
if we could fix their credit or not. There's
That's
certain things that you look for,
yeah.
and if they haven't had a job in 3 years, actually they have to have a steady job for 3 years, W-2 job, and then there's certain markers within the credit check that
Yeah.
they look for.
So how do they find you guys? Because you're all over the 38 states. So how do you find them? Do you find them? Do they find you? Is it a mix or both?
A little of both. We're looking for renters, and we have somebody that's calling on other people who are looking for homes, apartments, whatever the case may be. But we also have a rent-own website where we get a lot of leads from. And generally, we're putting it out, we're pushing it out in the markets where we have houses listed. But we also list those houses at the same time with a local realtor too. So it's
Right.
kind of they're run parallel, and the realtor knows that it's up there. We're not like,
Sure, sure. Yeah, you guys are definitely above board, and we've had discussion before, but the rent to own model gets a bad rap because
yeah,
there's a lot
yeah,
of room to mess people,
yeah,
up with that, with the bigger down payments and the very high interest rates, and then they're paying exorbitant money compared to the other neighbors who are paying for rent without the rent to own model. How do you kind of differentiate yourself from that kind of stigma and those practices?
Yeah, there's a couple things. We charge market rent. We're not like gouging people just to get them in there. That's number one. Number two, their mortgage, once we finally do close, is usually lower. We don't charge fees for doing it, and everything that we do to help them get them into the house is through a third party. We don't. There's no
Oh,
charge on our end. They pay them directly, and the FHA lender, we can't get anything out of that. It's just somebody we have a relationship
oh,
with.
sure. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's a big difference. And then what was it that kind of pushed you guys towards that model of doing all this stuff? Was it just did it evolve from something else, or was it your partner's idea right from the get go?
No, it wasn't. He was fixing up row houses in Baltimore, Maryland, and he was, getting them for 30, 40,000 back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Fix them up, sell them off, and he would notice that the prices in the neighborhood would go up. I guess you could say like gentrification. He's doing
Yeah.
one house, so it's not gentrifying the entire neighborhood, but he's, essentially doing that. What he didn't like was that people who lived in the neighborhood probably couldn't buy the houses,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's what got him in looking into the rent to own market. Was how do I kind of give back to the neighborhood? And
Yeah.
this was a good way to
That's
do it.
awesome. Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of risk with that too. You're putting people in there that could, they've had some missteps or some bad luck and some health issues or whatever it was. But sometimes those things are hard to shake. So you're taking a chance and taking that
Yeah,
risk. But it sounds like the calculated risk makes it so that you're coming out way ahead. And
yeah,
definitely those returns on the investment side seem very attractive.
and it's all on them to do the work. We don't do the work for them. They
Yeah,
have to actually repair their credit, so
yeah,
they may
that's
not
great.
actually do it. It's happened before, but very far and few between when
Yeah.
people want to do something and they see that there's a way that they can get something done that they didn't think was possible in the past. They tend to do the work they need to do.
Well, I've got you down here at LinkedIn. Is that where you spend most of your time? If people want to find you, take a look at you, and really,
That
talk
that
to
is
you
as
about how you can help them out.
that is as good as any. Or shoot me an email at robert@myomequities.com. But yeah, LinkedIn's the best way. Just shoot me a DM there.
Yeah, we appreciate everything. So, what else can we expect? What's next?
We're getting into the commercial side of real estate. We're looking at warehousing, flexible warehousing, and some multifamily, but that's the next step for my
How,
own.
how far away is that?
It's right there. We've got the team assembled, and we're starting to push it out now as we speak. It's a slow,
So you're going to
gradual
be
process.
helping business owners own their own property, or you're talking?
No, no, no. We're gonna be the landlord on that one.
Okay, so you're talking about commercial
Yeah.
leasing.
Yep. 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 Buy the properties, fix them up a little value add, and kind of if we can raise their
It's a
rent.
great market. After COVID, where so many businesses lost out, and now everything is sitting empty, or the businesses are just coming back, can't afford to pay for the full rent. There's a lot of opportunity there in that market, and we
Yeah.
knew that was coming down the
Yep.
pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on
We see it more in the office space up here in New York. I know down in Florida it's a lot different.
Yeah,
But
this is
the,
you're
the
reading my mind.
the office space up here, we're not really interested in getting into offices just yet. But
Yeah,
we're looking more at the warehousing, multifamily, and small retail strip
I'll tell
centers.
you what, down here, all the money goes for self storage from the commercial
Yeah.
side. That's some
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
great business model down here because everyone moves down from these really big, great New York places. You think of New York as small, but when you're talking about New Jersey and all these other places where they have these bigger houses, down here is older Florida has some smaller houses, especially if they
Hmm.
had a family and now they're downsizing. And man, the self storage business here in Florida is just bonkers. I've never seen one
Yeah.
fail yet.
Yeah. And I can only imagine how much it's grown through
Yeah.
COVID with all the New Yorkers coming down
Yes.
there willy nilly like crazy.
Yep. Yep. They're all coming. And even a lot of people from California too, but it's been a good thing for Florida. It's been a good thing for, I think, for the New Yorkers too, because, you know, they just really beat the clock because I think it's 72 or something. It's the law that you have to move to Florida, isn't it?
It's either the law or that it's a taxable event or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. You want to beat
they're
that.
bringing the average age down a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But we appreciate you, Rob. Uh, my own investments definitely hit Rob up. This is a great service that you're doing for Americans because home ownership is what's going to separate you and give you your slight edge advantage. That equity build over time is what really makes the difference between being, having money and building wealth, especially generational wealth and things that you could leave your children. Nothing like home ownership.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny that you use the term generational wealth because it was not. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but there was always for me. It was like I would have a goal of whatever. Let's save this. Let's do this. Let's put this
Yeah.
here. Let's get into this. But it was just I think it was last year, maybe even in January, where I was just like, you know what? I want to start to create generational wealth, and I'd never thought like that ever.
Yeah, we are buying a house for each of our kids, not for them, for us, but we have four
Yeah.
kids. So we want four houses. We have two plus the one we live in. So we need two more rental properties, something to leave the kids when we're off the planet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
huge.
yeah, they each have a watch. I got a watch for each of them. They're in my safe there, so that's gonna be fun because we get that ranges from like 20 to 5,000. So
Yeah, but over
and
the past, I'm going to say 5 years or so, the growth of the watch market has been so crazy.
it has, but I'm not leaving any watch to one particular kid, so I'm gonna have them fight over them about who gets it.
you could look you could look down from wherever you are and just be like, oh, this is going to be
Just
fun.
laugh. Yeah, I got a couple of fun things for my funeral. One of them is a box of tasers, and whoever's the last one standing gets the truck. So
Oh
that's
my
another fun
god,
game to play. Yeah.
that's a good one. I like that one.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you for being on the show today. We appreciate you, Rob. We met through a really great person in Scott McGregor and that
Scotty
whole
McGregor.
Outlier organization, Kathy Leckie. They do great things, but I do appreciate your friendship and
Yeah.
everything that we've had the fortune
Thank,
of seeing together both of our growth last few years.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stick around for me for 1 second. I just want to tell everyone to thank you for watching this show, for subscribing, for sharing, and telling other people about it, because that's what gives us our slight edge advantage. So what I'd like you to do is leave in the comments below, what is your slight edge advantage? What is it that you obtain, that you worked for, that really embodies your success and that you have to put forth every single day to keep you on top or to get you there? Put that down in the comment, and I appreciate you. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you.